Okay, we are live. Salamastarba. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a regular session with Pamela. Pamela is going to talk about project-based learning. So, welcome, Pamela.
Hello, everyone. Okay.
And
So I
share
will
your
share my screen. Yes. Okay. So we have, today's project-based learning, and yes. So we'll be talking about what are the benefits, what are the kinds of projects, and then how do you link this to your class? How do you make it be something that is part of the curriculum, part of the learning targets that you are given by the Ministry of Education? So first off, what is project-based learning? So project-based learning poses an authentic problem, challenge, need, or issue at the start of the unit in a form of an entry event. So you have to have something about the topic of the unit that you are studying that asks the students to link this to the real world in some way. So they're going to do a project that deals with a question, could be social, could be environment, could be really local, like within the school. It could be personal, anything that they can really relate to. And a lot of these, depending on the curriculum you're working with, depending on the textbook, a lot of them have a lot of very useful topics that they're working with, or just fun. It could be, it doesn't have to be a problem, as we see here. It could be an issue, or just something they're interested in. Maybe it is celebrity culture, and you can have a project based on that kind of thing. If you were talking about likes, dislikes, and then you talk about movie, music, celebrities, famous people, the art that they produce, and then they can do a project based on that. Or it could be something very serious like crime in their country. As I said, environmental issues are always a very popular one that is kind of an international problem that students can talk about and can make it very local. Local education, family issues, any of those kinds of things. So it's something that they can relate to, they can work with in their real lives, that they can find very, as we talked about in our SMART goals, relevant. Remember, relevancy and the desire to hear messages about topics that they want to learn about and messages they want to hear is really key in foreign language acquisition, because they have to be motivated to want to read or hear and communicate about the issues. So the students at the beginning will receive rubrics outlining what tasks or end products they will have to create. So something really specific about a project is that they have to know how they will be assessed. So a rubric is the outline of what it takes to get in a 5 and what a 4 looks like, what a 3. You have to outline what the grades look like for every level, because they need to know, they need to have something to compare against when they're doing their work and say, oh, I haven't done this, and this. If I turn it in right now, it will be a 2. And what do I need to have a 5? So you don't just give them this and say, I want a really good project. You have to give them the rubric. You have to show what is expected, what an excellent project looks like, what a good project looks like, what's average, below average, and unsatisfactory and failing. You really need to outline that and say at every level what you are expecting and what they should. So, for example, 5 paragraphs about the topic, with no grammar mistakes, no spelling mistakes, proper punctuation, proper capitalization, and 3 sources that you used for research. That would give you a 5. And then a 4 would be maybe 4 paragraphs. Maybe there's some grammar mistakes, but not too many. Maybe some punctuation or something like that. That would still give you a 4. A 3 would maybe be you have many mistakes, but you still understand what they are talking about. Only 2 sources that you researched from. And then under that, a 2 would be it's many mistakes to the point where you couldn't understand it. Not enough words, not enough paragraphs, and not enough sources, maybe only 1 source. And then anything under that is, you can tell that the student didn't really try. So you have to let them know what is being expected so that, and make it very clear. And then, so there will be no surprises when you grade it at the end or when you assess it at the end. And they will know exactly how to research. You should give them guidance on what kind of sources are good to help them find the information that they're going to report, or what kinds of things that they need to create, if it's like a sample class they're doing or some kind of a different kind of project. But be very clear about what is expected at the beginning. The more guidance you give, the more restrictions, the more rules you have, the better they will enjoy the process because there will be fewer mysteries. So think about if I told you, I want to assess your English as English teachers who teach not from a native level. And so I want to assess that. Okay, so everybody write a paper for me, and then I'll be able to see what kind of a English level you have for writing. Would you feel good about that assignment and feel good that I was assessing it well? If I just said, write a paper, write about whatever you want. I don't know how many words, I don't know, like just whatever you think, try to impress me, try to show you're a good English speaker. That's not so good. If I said, write 200 words about why you became an English teacher, what you want out of professional development, and how English functions in Kyrgyzstan. And I want, at least 200 words. You can go over if you like, but you don't need to do more than 200 words. You would feel a little bit more confident about that I was assessing it correctly and that you would know what to write. So we want to give our students that experience of being very clear about the expectations at the beginning so that we can help them succeed. And it's also easier for you to check in on their progress, because for some of the projects, it will just be 1 lesson. But for the projects that are multiple weeks, you take maybe a month or more than a month to do the project. You also want to show them what you expect every week or every 2 weeks, and then you can see if they are progressing in the way they should. So it's also for you that you give them very clear guidelines and expectations from the beginning. So from the very start of the project, students see their need to learn the course content and skills in order to complete each step or benchmark. So this is like what I was saying, that they also, not only for grading purposes, but they see logically where the beginning of the project goes and then to the end. And so a benchmark is like, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. That's what I mentioned, that you will be able to check that more easily. So if you were giving a writing project, and we'll use the same example, and I said, I want 1 paragraph done by the end of the first week. And then we will look at that, check the grammar, check the spelling, check the punctuation and capitalization. And then at the next week, I want 2 paragraphs. The 3rd week, I want you to show me your sources. Those are benchmarks. Those are are different goals at the ends that I should, as a teacher, expect to see progress from. And again, it's very easy to check, yes, they did it or they did not do it. So when you have those guidelines set from the beginning, then it's very easy to see whether or not they have completed them. And then it's easy for you to give them their grades. So their end goal is clear from the beginning, and their learning is meaningful because they need the content and skills in order to solve the problem, challenge, need, or issue that has been posed to them. So they will also see that the resources that you are giving them to show as their research examples, or the steps that they need to finish a project, or what grammar points they need to review in order to have accurate grammar for those different assignments, they will see that that links to the final goal. So the content is what they are talking about and what they are researching, and the skills are the things that you're helping them with along the way, that you should check, and for accuracy, those things like writing skills, for example, if it is a writing project. So let's talk about some of the benefits. So in project-based learning classrooms, students demonstrate improved attitudes toward learning. They exhibit more engagement, are more self-reliant, and have better attendance than in more traditional school settings. So this is, I can give the full citation if anybody's interested, but yes, if they know that they are responsible for doing the work and other students are responsible for working with them, and if they know that they're going to get something real at the end of it, they will be more engaged. So it's less passive learning. They are really responsible for producing something. They have to be self-reliant. Yes. So you will check on them maybe once a week if you have an extended project, or if it's in one classroom, one lesson, every maybe 10 minutes or 7 minutes or something, but they have to do most of the work themselves. So it's not the traditional setting where they are just listening and the teacher is talking and they are taking notes. They have to do most of the work. So, and there's also a sense of pride in what they have done, because it's all their effort and their production of the language, and they can really see their progress in the language, because they know that they are doing something more than they did last week, than the week before. When I did some writing projects before, in some of my teaching with first-year university students, the teacher would keep the first draft, and then I think it was maybe 5 or 6 weeks that we would work on the project. You show the student that first draft at the end when they have worked on it and gotten your feedback and done more research and really worked on their project, and they are so proud to see the difference between their final project and their first draft of the project. This is very, very motivating. That's why it's a good thing to do kind of towards the beginning of a semester or a school year, because they get very motivated to see that their hard work is paying off, that they are actually making progress, they are learning, they are gaining skills, they are developing their vocabulary, and that their work is paying off. That's what they like to see. So make sure that you're very encouraging with that, and you really foster a sense of, including them as active agents in the projects that they're doing, engage them, make them do a lot of stuff on their own, give them that feedback, and always remind them of where they started, and then let them know, you have improved by these different, let them know the benchmarks and where they were along that. And teachers or facilitators express they have greater enjoyment of their role as teachers and teacher satisfaction. So I found this as well. I really liked seeing the students succeed and enjoy the process of learning. So let's talk a little bit about the word facilitator versus teacher. So we have different words for teacher, right? We have professor, lecturer, teacher, educator. They're all leaders, and we all are working with education. The word facilitator comes from the French Latin root word of facile, which means easy. So a facilitator just makes something easier. So they are not teaching, they're not giving new information, they are not professing something, they're not saying something new to the students. They are just making the process of learning easier. So if I were to give this in person, I know some of you have been to my workshops in the American Corner at Jalalabad State or Modern University in Jalalabad. And I was more of a facilitator then because it was interactive. I had everybody there in the room. So I would ask questions. I would have the teachers in the room do projects on their own, share their ideas. I would ask a lot of questions. It was a lot more of, I was just there kind of as a guide, as a helper, a facilitator, a helper, somebody to make something easy rather than just saying the things. So that's what you kind of want to be. It can kind of feel a little bit new and uncomfortable at first because you are not doing much. And as teachers, we are used to talking a lot and doing a lot of things and giving instructions and guiding through activities. But with project-based learning, you have to step aside and just watch and be quiet sometimes. So you are just there to help, to make it easier, but not necessarily to be the leader of the project. But when you do go back into that teacher role and you're doing more of that instruction, then it is more enjoyable because you have that past of the students understand that they have really enjoyed these kinds of projects where they feel really connected to the topic, and they are given a lot of freedom and autonomy. They have a lot of the role themselves of doing the class, and they really enjoy seeing their progress. So once you get back into that teacher role, keep that idea of doing project-based learning, come back to it every now and then, because you'll see that the motivation and the engagement of the students is much higher when you integrate this into your semester, rather than like always having the lecture kind of traditional classroom setting there. So project-based learning is also beneficial because it helps develop employability skills. So this is known as 21st century skills. And we're well into the 20th century now, almost a quarter into it. When teachers are trained in project-based learning methods, they devote more class time to teaching 21st century skills. Students perform at least as well on standardized tests as students engaged in traditional instruction. So what does this mean? These kinds of skills are leadership, conflict resolution, so getting along with other people and solving problems with different personalities. We used to have kind of an idea of that you got really good at one thing and that's what you did. But now in a lot of jobs, they're asking for a lot of different kinds of skills. So anything that you can work really well with other people, communicate, be a leader, know when not to lead and let other people lead, to work in a group equally. A lot of companies now, like, there's not one leader, everybody kind of shares. Being able to know things about other fields. All of these things are kind of 21st century skills. These are the things that employers want. And it doesn't matter what kind of employment you get into. You're going to have to work with people. You're going to have to work with different technologies and have really excellent communication skills in whatever language you're doing. So also remember that even if people don't want to go into a profession where they need English every single day or at all, they will take these skills from project-based learning in their English language classroom and apply it to their work or their school or family life or anything they do after they graduate. So this is also a really good thing that makes what they're learning in class more applicable and more relevant to them than just learning English grammar. Maybe they're not going to use English later, but they will use project-based learning skills. They will use working on teams, working with people, being a leader, being able to be self-reliant, take initiative, be all of those things they will use in their lives and in their jobs. Students demonstrate better problem-solving skills in project-based learning than in traditional classes, and are able to apply what they learn to real-life situations. So this is exactly what I was just saying. They're able to use these for their real life, no matter what it is. And project-based learning provides college and career readiness. Developing 21st century skills in the last year of school is positively correlated with higher perceived work quality later in life. And don't think that you just have to wait until the last year of school. You can start this in, I think I started this kind of stuff maybe in 6th grade, maybe in junior high, 7th grade, 8th. So learning to work with others and to work on a project that you have a goal that goes over kind of a longer term is really, really beneficial for students, for college, as well as career. College, university, same thing in English, in American English. So, we have a little bit cut off here. So a study done by Pearson Foundation and Microsoft in 2013 reported that the majority of respondents reported that they agree or strongly agree they developed most of the skill use in their current job outside of school. So that's why we want to apply non-traditional methods in the school setting so that they get the benefit of that. You use traditional methods, of course, but then also integrate project-based learning and outside learning skills as well. Project-based learning enables students to actually develop skills that they'll use in current and future jobs while they're still in a school setting. It gives them an upper hand or advantage. So upper hand is another way to say an advantage in obtaining those skills before they leave. Project-based learning shows promise as a strategy for closing the achievement gap by engaging lower achieving students. So the achievement gap means there are certain students that, because of money, because of where they live, what kind of other educational or community or social activities or language abilities, or whether or not their parents were college educated and can help them with homework, all of those things add into whether or not students will succeed in an academic setting. So the gap is the difference between the ones that are high achievers and low achievers. So when you put students together working on a similar goal, and they are working together on a project, this helps to give people the same kind of experience and to give them the same opportunity as each other to help each other and work well on that kind of a project in school. And thus they get those benefits that maybe the students who are in the lower end of achievement don't get or wouldn't get if you didn't present it to them in the school with the other students. Project-based learning can work in different types of schools, serving diverse learners. Yes, you can do this in a small village, you can do this in a big city. It doesn't matter. It matters that you, as the teacher, are presenting these kinds of things to do and what kinds of projects. And now we have the internet and we have accessibility to a lot of information, and we have accessibility to different technology to create different kinds of projects. So and you can create any kind of project as an assignment for your classes, no matter where you are, and you can make it relevant to what the students are doing in their lives. So some ideas. Presentations. So you can do this either on your own, so you can have individual students do a presentation for the class. So they would write something up, maybe memorize it, or maybe have the notes in front of them. Try to train them to not read from their notes every single word. So if they are going to have notes to help them, encourage them to just kind of have them to help their memory a little bit and just look quickly at the notes, but not sit there and read every single word that's there. They can do this as an individual or as a group. So you can also have them have visuals. They can make a poster. They can do an online presentation. They can do something that has like action in it. It could be a how-to, like how to do this, maybe they have a hobby, like how to draw something, or how to make a certain kind of food, or any kind of hobby that they have. My favorite thing, what is the favorite thing that you have in your house and why? What is the story? Those kinds of things. And they can either memorize it. As I said, that's a little bit harder for them. Or they can, have some notes. The thing with memorization, though, you want to make sure that they have written what they will say, because we don't want them to memorize things without really understanding what they're saying. It does no good to have a student memorize a paragraph or a page and just say it if they don't really understand the words and the phrases that they're saying. So if they are going to do a presentation, make sure that you work with them on writing it and it's their original writing. If it's something like my favorite thing or my favorite memory or this is my family, then that's easy to do because they can't just copy that, right? They have to write it themselves. But make sure it's not just something copied that they memorize. That's why notes are good. Let them have a little bit of notes to refer to. Debates, I've talked about a lot. I really love debates, and they are so good because they hit so many different learning goals, so many different learning targets. So we have debates talk about critical thinking, working with others, working under pressure, working under time limits, researching, having to really be a good speaker in the moment. Be very clear with what you're speaking. It's very good for higher levels because it's already hard to do in your first language, and then we do it in a second language. It's that much more difficult. But for high level, a debate can be a project that you work on for weeks at a time as well. Yeah, so debates are great. Skits. So you can make a commercial for a project that they invented, so they can get together and invent a product. Or again, any of these things can be group or individual. They can do a play. All the topics can come from the book. So you don't have to think about, oh, what am I going to talk about? Or what, you can just say, we're going to do a presentation about this. We're going to do a debate about this. We're going to write a skit about this. Sometimes they talk about the future. I know there's been a lot of topics in the text that are gadgets and electronics and or, you know, as we talked about the environment, maybe there's a problem to solve with the environment that can be solved with a new invention. Make a commercial for that invention. That is so much fun for them. They really like making commercials for things like that. Or you can pretend that they are, they have this invention, they have the idea, but they need the money to make the invention. So they go to a rich person and they have to describe the invention and convince them that they deserve the money to make the invention. Those kinds of things. That can be a great project to work on. And again, they have to work together. They have to work on accuracy, let them know what they need in order to, from the beginning, what is it that you want? How many minutes? A 2-minute commercial. Perfect. Now they know they have to fill 2 minutes by saying the WH questions: what, where, how, who, when, why. So all of those, how much does it cost? Who does it help? What does it do? Where can you get it? All of those things. It's very easy to tell them that you need to answer these questions and how well they do, and then you can grade them there. Projects for English Week. So I've talked a little bit about English Week before. Anything that you do for these kinds of things, you can do in one class. You can say, we're focusing on this. We're going to do this topic. This is what we talked about last time. But now you're going to write a commercial, or now you're going to debate about this. I want this part to be pro, this part to be against. You have 10 minutes to research, and then I'm going to have you argue against each other. Or you're going to do a how-to, a favorite thing, whatever. You can do that in one class, or you can do that over time. I think when I prepared for English Week, we prepared for 6 weeks beforehand. I told them what the assignment was, what the projects were supposed to be. They got to choose. I gave them maybe a choice of 4 or 5. They got to choose which one they wanted to do, worked on it over that time, and then presented it at a big party for English Week, with the whole school came to, and all the other teachers got to see their projects and their performances. And so you can make something very quick in one lesson, or you can expand it to many weeks and do it for the entire school. Practice teaching. This one is fun for them, and it's so educational for them because they see how hard it is to plan a lesson, to explain things, to make sure the students understand it, to make it clear without talking too much. Again, here you have to make it very clear what you are expecting out of their practice teaching. So you have to tell one group, you are going to present the warm-up for this. It has to be 7 minutes long, and it's going to be talking about the simple past and your weekend plans last weekend. What did you do? You have to explain it. You have to describe it. You have to ask for what kinds of vocabulary they're going to use. You have to engage the students. Then the next group, you have to say, okay, you're doing the presentation section of the lesson, and you have to break down what the grammar is, the regular verbs, and then the most common irregular verbs. I walked, I talked, and then irregular wrote, slept, ran, whatever. So those are fun. And then they get to teach a little bit to the rest of the class. So I would break them into groups for this. So break them into 4 groups, and then you have one lesson that is the 4 different stages. So one gets a warm-up, one gets presentation, one gets practice, and one gets production. And then maybe it's not so much about that they understand the grammar of that lesson, but they get the chance to work on something, and then they get to see what presenting it and what teaching it is like. And they get to work with the group in collaborating and seeing how they can be successful and working with each other in putting together a bit of a lesson plan. Making materials for the lesson, materials creation. So this is a fun one. This doesn't have to take very long. I've done this within one lesson before. You just take a big piece of paper, ask them to write out the rules for a grammar point or a punctuation usage or capitalization, irregular verbs, any kind of thing that would be a trend in English language learning. And they write out the rules. And in a small group, maybe 3 people to a group, decide who writes it out, who does the checking of the spelling and of the rule, who maybe adds some art to it, something to make it interesting. The great thing about this is that you keep it at the end of the class, you put it on the wall, and now you have the rules on the wall. Now you have that resource. So in the future, if people make mistakes about pronunciation or about irregular verb, you can just point to the wall. This is where I reduce my teacher talk time. If I hear that mistake, I hold up my hand and then I just point to the wall and I say, is that correct? Or I just say, and then they know to correct themselves immediately. So you have that reference and it's always there. So that's just a fun one-day thing you can do with any of those kinds of things. Scavenger hunt. So this is kind of easy and kind of fun. Make sure that the key for this one is that you trust the students. You have to trust them. They have to be a little bit more mature. I wouldn't do this with 5th, 6th graders, maybe not even 7th, but with the higher levels, I would. This is where you would go and collect things from a list, and you have to go and find them and ask different people. We don't want to be disrupting other classes, for sure. And we now have phones. Everybody has cameras on their phones everywhere. So what we have adapted a scavenger hunt of collecting things, and then whoever has all of them is the winner, to just pictures. So you give them a list, and then they have to go get pictures of all those things. And then the ones that come back the quickest with all of them is the winner. Again, making any kind of competition, they are very, very interested in that. So I would always make my list a little bit tricky about the language. So I wouldn't just say, like, take a picture of a tree, take a picture of some food, take a picture of something blue. Like, that's just kind of busy work, right? I would say, take a picture of something arboreal. So arboreal is an adjective that is related to anything tree-like, anything related to a tree. So they'd have to look up the word arboreal, figure out, it has something to do with the tree. Now they've learned a new word. I would say, take a picture of something a carnivore would like to eat. So I wouldn't just say, take a picture of a hamburger or a lamb or sheep, koi. I would say something a carnivore would eat. So that's something that eats meat. Then they would have to look up the word carnivore, and then they would have to go and find a picture of something made out of meat. So they're learning about the language and learning some new words, and then they're making those connections, taking the pictures or getting the pictures online. I don't care if they get the picture online. But the thing is that if you're going to have them run around the school and around the grounds of the school, you have to keep it very, very clear the timing that you are expecting them back, and that you expect that they have these certain pictures. I would take attendance at the beginning of class and then tell them, I will take attendance at the end of class 2. If you have disappeared, if because I let you walk out of the classroom to find these pictures and you don't come back, I take attendance at the end and you don't come back, then I mark you absent the whole day. And I tell your parents, you were not here. So make sure it's students you trust and that they know what the rules are if you're going to let them outside of the classroom. You can also do it within the classroom just as a research online too. So you can find these pictures online. They do Google image search. They find out what these words mean. That's fine too if you don't want them to actually leave your site, which is fine. You can also make it kind of thematic. So, and that's easier to do when you just do everything online. So if it's the theme of the topic that you have. So again, if it's environment, you can say, you know, volcano and pollution, all those kinds of things. And then once they show you that they have the amount of pictures that you've asked for, then you can say, okay, you've won, you're the winner. And then you can use that as soon as somebody's won, you can concept check and go through the definitions and share the pictures with everybody else in the class. So those are just ideas. Those are just my ideas of some things that I've done in the past. It's not exhaustive. There's so many ideas for projects, and just find out what the students are interested in. Maybe there's something they actually want to do within their community. Maybe they do want to do trash rubbish cleanup, or they want to do volunteer work with a hospital, or they want to put on a all English skit. Maybe they want to take a TV show. There are very popular comedy TV shows that are only 20 minutes long from America and England, and maybe they want to redo that on stage, all in English. That might be a fun project as well. And you can use that, make sure that they understand what is happening in the show and all of that. Concept check, build the vocabulary, and then they can present it too. So there's a lot of different kinds of things that can be fun. So remember to start with a SMART goal, time constrained. So whether or not it is the one lesson, just your 40, 50 minutes you have, or 6 weeks, make sure you let them know this is how much time we have. I am expecting this at the end of this time. Provide an example. So this is also really important. If you have a project that you want them to do a poster, show them an example of a poster. If it's like the skit, as I said, you know, show them something like that. Make sure that they really understand what is expected them, or a paper, you know, 5 paragraphs or whatever. If it's a group project, make sure that the roles are clear. Don't tell them what roles they have them figure out what roles they want. So if one wants to be the researcher, one wants to be the writer, one wants to be the presenter, and then you write that down in your book. This is group 1. This is, you know, Gulnara wants to do this, and Sultan wants to do this, and, you know, make sure that you write out who is doing what. Make sure they stick to it, because if they change too much, then they won't ever really get started, because they will like, oh no, we decided we want to do this instead. And then they've lost a week or 2 because they've changed. So tell them, now that you've decided this is your topic, this is what you're doing, and these are your roles. You have to stick with this. So be clear. So you can have the entire first day of just deciding that, so that you know that they have had the chance to be really clear about it, and don't let them change. Break it into smaller assignments. So as I said, those benchmarks. What do you expect after the end of week 1? What do you expect after the end of week 2? Or if it's in one class, what do you expect after 5 minutes, after 10 minutes, after 15 minutes? You check in with them and say, where is your progress? Are you ready to do this? How are you working on this? And then provide minimal feedback and monitoring, give guidance on research methods. So if they have some questions about where to find information, or where to find examples of these kinds of things. Give some guidance on that, but don't give them answers. And a little bit of feedback and monitoring. Again, always asking questions. Is that correct? Is she writing this correctly? Instead of immediately giving the answer. Do you remember when we went over that? Is this an irregular verb or is this regular? Okay, what is the irregular version of that? And then you can open it to not just the person writing, but all the rest of the participants. But make sure it's very student-centered. You are asking if they know what the answer is first before giving it to them. And that's it for my presentation.
Thank you very much, Pamela.
Well, I have questions. You're welcome.
We haven't got any questions yet.
Not really questions? Okay.
Yeah, I have some questions. I was going to ask about timeline.
Yeah.
So some projects need more time and some projects less time. So what do you suggest? How can they adapt the topic with the time?
Yeah, it depends. So the scavenger hunt will only take one class. And then so always plan for concept checking and a production exercise for the end once the students get those things in. That is a pretty easy one to adapt and to really think about what the beginning and end is going to look like. For some of the other projects, you just really have to check in with them every week. So if you've told them 6 weeks and you've actually told them what you expect at the end of the first week and then the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, then the timeline should be very clear, and they have either done it or they have not. They have either gotten the information they needed, they have either gotten the poster together, what they're going to say, all of those things. You should be very, very clear, and then the timeline will be clear.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. One more question. So we should also take into consideration language skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how can we use or focus on the language skills? While, for example, if we designate roles, if you have role play.
So the designated roles, it depends on what the project is. But if you have a group that is doing a poster presentation and they are doing research about a famous person, and they have one person does the research, one person writes it out on the poster, and the other person speaks, they will usually decide which role they feel more comfortable with there. So it's the one that is most comfortable with speaking and pronunciation will be the one who says, I want to present. And the ones who are more comfortable with reading and understanding things through the written word and maybe not as comfortable with speaking will be the ones to say, I want to do the research. And the ones who may be a little bit weaker in language overall and wants a lot of preparation time might be one that wants to just write out what they're told and figure out the art for the poster, and that be their contribution. So there might be a little bit more practice in this scenario than growth. So they're kind of in their comfort zone, as we say. So there will be different projects and different lessons and different activities that you will do to push the students out of their comfort zone. But for this, what you're focusing more on instead of the actual language skills is actually working with the deadline and working with others. All of those, as we see, 21st century skills that are really important for students to have for college, career, all of that stuff. So we don't want to worry too much about developing different skills at this point, reinforcing what they're strong in and getting those soft skills, as we call them, the working with people and communicating and working with a deadline and working towards an end goal.
Okay, thank you very much. We have questions from our participants. How to plan project-based loan? It's from Rahat Hermurat.
Okay, I can't see them. I can't see the questions. Usually I see the comments.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
How to plan project-based learning?
Okay. It depends on what the project is. It depends what you want out of it. It's up to you. You can plan one for 3 weeks, for 6 weeks, for just the class. And it depends on the topic. So also take your students' feedback. Ask them what they're interested in. Say, we want to do a project within the next 3 weeks. What are you thinking you would like to do? Would you like to do something just in the classroom and present it to us? Would you like to do something in the community? Get some ideas from them. See what they're interested in. A lot of the textbooks too, Oxford Learn has a lot of really good ideas that are just activities that you can expand to a project. So use your own creativity. There's no real rule for planning a project. Just figure out what the students are into and find out what how they want to create that and develop that into a larger project.
Okay. The next question from Akalay Sharlieva. What kind of projects can be given to intermediate language learners to strengthen their speaking skills?
Yeah, presentations. A lot of presentations. So think about how nervous people are when they have to speak in front of other people, in front of a big group, and they're even just using their native language. A lot of people find that very, very scary. So yes. Try to have them be very comfortable in that and speaking in English. So have them talk about something that they're very comfortable talking about, they're very interested in. So if you have some students that are very interested in sports, say, okay, we're going to have a presentation. You're going to talk about your favorite sport or your favorite athlete. And you're going to, it just has to be 1 minute long. You have to talk for 1 minute. You have to show a visual and answer these questions. Who is the person, or what is the sport? What country is it in? How many people play it? What are the international competitions? Do you play it? Why? Who do you play with? Give them specific questions and have them answer those and present to the class. Make sure the class is very supportive and patient and quiet when they are presenting, and give them those opportunities. Yeah, I think presentations and speaking in front of a group is the best project for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Many students, even teachers, are very nervous when do they presentations, like public speech. Yeah,
I mean, I find it hard in my first language. I mean, for people to be doing this in another language is even more. Yeah, so give them practice where there is no fear of, if they don't do well, they won't be punished. Be very encouraging, very patient, very positive, no shaming, no, don't make them feel bad if they make a mistake. Just be patient, don't interrupt them, let them speak. And if they stop, if they have to think about something, if they make mistakes, anything, just let them go, let them speak for that minute, and then tell them, thank you for this. Maybe give a little bit of corrections on grammar or pronunciation if you need, but other than that, be very encouraging, and they will get better at that. And that's, I think, the best one. And that goes, as I mentioned, these are transferable skills that also are applicable to anything that they will do in their own language.
Yes. Practice and practice. Practice makes
Yes,
perfect.
exactly. Practice,
Okay.
practice, practice till they're not scared.
Yes. We have a question from Laila Kanejiki. What's your opinion about the project method?
I think it's great. I think it is great to use either a big one in the middle or towards the end of a semester, or a couple little ones within the semester. I think we definitely need the traditional methods there as well, because we need instruction. We need to give them something to work with, right? We can't just have them practice all the time, because they don't know what to practice if you don't give them new information. But I think you absolutely need to do it, especially the more in junior high, 7th, 8th, and then high school, 9th, 10th, 11th is really important, because those are things that they will really need at those levels of development. So my opinion is you need to do it, one big one or many small ones, but it's a great thing to do alongside regular instruction.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think many teachers use this project-based learning in our country.
Yeah,
Like we say like extracurricular activities.
Yeah. Right. But that's part of, again, closing that achievement gap is to do it within the classroom as well. Because some of the students who can't do those extracurricular ones then will get those benefits of doing that in the classroom. Because not everybody can do the extracurriculars. But yeah, if you can do both, definitely, then that's optimum. That's what we want, is to do things after school with other students that you enjoy, that's fun, that you're working hard at, and then also doing these things in the classroom that are challenging, useful, and also fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much, Pamela.
Okay.
So it was very interesting. We haven't got left any questions here.
Okay.
So we'll discuss with our teachers and let you know what topic they prefer to discuss next week. Thank you again, Pamela. Dear participants, thank you very much for your questions.
Thank all of you.
Yes. I hope we'll meet next week.
Yes.
And just one short announcement. We have this Friday, we have a meeting with another Peace Corps volunteer, returned Peace Corps volunteer, Nicole Halbert. She's going to talk about her amazing experience in Jalabad as a Peace Corps volunteer. Pamela, if you are free, you can also join us.
Yeah, I'd love to. Please send me the link for that. Yeah. And I had an amazing experience, and I hope to continue my amazing experience when we can return, inshallah.
Thank you very much. Bye. Have a good night, Pamela.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.